What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and we're going to be doing a lineup construction video for this UFC New Orleans fight card. And what we're going to be doing is diving into some different techniques, some different things you could do with Saber Sim and with your own takes to maybe take a shot at winning the big $200,000 prize or as much of it as we can take. Um, So we're going to go through a lot of different iterations of these processes, and I'm really going to leave it to you to figure out which is best for you. There's certain levels of automation that you can opt for, certain levels of, I don't know, I don't say button clicking, but kind of like letting SaberSim just kind of do its thing for you. And there are all levels of when you want to employ your own takes on things and some other tricks that you can do. And this video is going to get into some of that stuff. So the first thing that you want to do, I mean, the first decision you're going to have to make is what projections to use in the first place, right? So whether you use Saber Sims or your own, or if you're on another site, you could use theirs, whatever. But that is definitely the first decision you're going to have to make. And so I'm going to actually upload my own to get started here. And what we're going to do is literally the first, I guess, the first level of approach. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put my projections in, and I'm going to create this automatically create custom fields from ownerships. And what that's going to do is give me the option to set my own contest field when we go ahead and run the sims. So we're going to call this Sheets 444. And I do believe that in UFC, it makes sense if you do have your own ownership projections that you trust to use those to create your own fields. There are some sports where it doesn't make any sense or it's a little harder, but I think UFC you can do that. So you'll see that within field lineups, there was um, you could save your own fields in here so that when you go into contests and go into contest sims, you can you can go ahead and select them. It has been taking a little bit longer, and that's only because I'm using 20,000 lineups in this iteration. So it is everything is going to take just a little bit longer. We're still waiting. All right. In the meanwhile, we're going to talk about what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run just your normal build. And when I say my normal build, I mean you run as many lineups as humanly possible, then sim those against your favorite contest field and then just sort by ROI and just fire. Okay. And that I think is really at this point of the learning cycle, the minimum that you should be doing. I mean, I really feel that. I think that if you hand build right now, you're just way, way behind. So at the very least, you want to do what I'm about to show you. And so I'm picking field lineup sheets 444 just for the flagship. Everything else, the big buy-ins, we're going to keep the regular SaberSim back-tested kind of high stakesy type fields. I think that's pretty wise. Unless you're good enough to create your own ownership projections for those particular contests, I think using SaberSim for those is perfectly reasonable. The other thing that you'll see, again, for those who haven't followed me before, is I'm going to build 20,000 lineups, and we don't really need to build 20,000, but we're going to do it anyway. So it'll be 20,000 lineups, and I'm not making any decisions pre-flop about what I want. I'm not putting minimum exposure this, maximum exposure this, min one, max one, or whatever it is. I'm just firing the 20,000 lineups to start off with. I'm not doing any minimum salary. I'm not using any max salary. Actually, I did put a minimum salary of 47.5 just because that's their default. It's very rare that I would ever get to anything below 47.5 unless you had a weird situation where, a $7,400 fighter was like 5 to 1 to win or something like that, which does happen, a couple times a year. So we built the 5,000 lineups, and then again, as I mentioned, you're going to want to sim these against the various contest fields. So at the very least, we're going to click on run the contest sims. And now ostensibly what it's doing is it's comparing these 5,000 lineups to um, the various contests that you're in. And I mean, people underestimate like how hard this is. I mean, the code and how hard it is to actually do this. And Saberson has been doing it for quite a while. And the contest field stuff has been contest sims have been, maybe it's their third year, I guess, right now. And they're getting better, so once again, at the very least, we do this. Now, what it's also going to do in the background is it's going to diversify your portfolio in kind of a smart way, where it's not going to put any lineup in the same in multiple contests in the name of diversification. It's going to treat this as a full portfolio approach, which I think it's definitely a step in the right direction um, for the DFS industry in general. I think it's really far away from being good as far as portfolio management goes, but it's at least something. It's definitely an improvement over this regular min uniques idea. So what it's doing is also ranking them by buy-in. You know what I mean? Like the top of the list is the knockout, the 555, and then all the way at the bottom is going to be the lottery. And the reason for that is again, like if anything's going to want to be in all five contests and I have to pick, I'd rather make sure that the knockout gets what it wants. So essentially, right now, I mean, I don't even want to look to see what I have. It really doesn't matter. Okay. We've already done the Sims, whatever. We could literally just save to all, and then we go here, and then we upload, and to me, this is the really the bare minimum that you should do. Like that is get a good set of projections, and that's another story. Okay, I'll get into one of these days, like what I think are the best projections, how to use others, how to use your own, or whatever. But you start with a good set of projections. You put in a million lineups. You sim them against good contest fields, and then you just fire them, and you don't even look at who you have. Okay, and I think that's the very least that you can do. Now, if you want to do more, okay, here are a couple of things that you need to know um, about SaberSim, like in general, is that SaberSim doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't do a great job in minimizing dupes. Uh, it doesn't do a great job of predicting them either. So usually when you do this, okay, you're gonna you think you're getting unique in places where you're just not. If you get into the weeds here, I mean, I don't want to, but you can download the whole portfolio and it will show you what it is predicting as far as dupes are concerned. And it doesn't really reflect reality. I mean, there'll be lineups that SaberSim will project to have like 8 dupes and it'll end up like 60. I mean, it's just the way it is. I don't know what they're doing to figure that out, but it's not great. Um, and you'd like to think that ROI would take that into account, but I don't know. The best I can say is it's not it's better than it was, but it's not as good as it claims to be that it should be as far as maximum minimizing dupes. So we have to do something else with this set, I think. And now we're already getting into like putting your own spin on stuff, which might be somewhat dangerous, but I think it's a good idea. Now there are a couple of things that you can do. One, and they're pretty formula based. In other words, like to reduce the amount of dupes, you need to reduce the amount of times that the lineups you want to reduce the amount of times the lineup's going to be played, right? So you want the lowest owned possible, really, that has a chance to win. And one way you can sort by these, and you get to choose really how risky you want to be. Like I can find you lineups that have, you know, five uh like one dupe, but they'll have no chance to win, right? So you have to kind of, you have to walk that fine line. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is at least I guess you could sort by geo mean at the very least. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's download the lineup groups, CSV. And just to kind of get into the weeds and show you how this all operates, we're filtering by all these different categories that SaberSim has in the background. For all these contests, what the ROI is. Now let's just start by sorting um, by ROI here. And there should be a geo mean thing. Okay, so what geo mean is, it's kind of it's just essentially like ownership product. And what you can do is kind of primitively predict based on geo mean how many times these lineups are going to get duped. So there's kind of a calculator that there's a formula that you can use, which is not, guaranteed, but it's not bad. Okay. Now I have my own spreadsheet. If you're a TrueDFS member, you could probably access this calculator there, but it's really not difficult. It's one formula. Okay, and you can just paste it. All you need to know is you need to know the players that are in each lineup, the number of entries, and the number of dupes you want to be filtering for. So let's keep this. We're gonna call this worksheet because we're gonna come back to this, I think. Um, let's call it I don't know, 719 worksheet. Yeah. Just so in case because I have a zillion spreadsheets open. So let's remind ourselves of how many um people are in this contest, and then we can fill in this other stuff. So in this contest, there's going to be, what is this? Let's see. 32,941. So 32,941 entries. And let's say that we want to have at most five dupes. Okay. Now, if you want to do that, your geo mean needs to be, you see this calculation, 23.1 or 0.230. So as you can see, when we come back to this worksheet, you know, it's not that easy to get to these, but they're in there. Okay. Um, but the question is how much do you want to sacrifice in ROI to get there? Um, and that's a tough question, but I think at the very least, what you should be able to do is not want 10 dupes, right? At the very least, it's got to be 25.9 or lower. So that's at least a start. So what you could do is just first we'll sort by geo mean, and we'll just get rid of everything that's above 25.9. Now, for those of you that haven't figured this out yet, I mean, all this stuff is conditioned upon you having good ownership projections. So, if you have bad ownership projections, none of these techniques are going to help you. I mean, they're going to help, but you could be somewhat flawed. So let's get rid of every geo mean below 25.9. So now all of these should uh, be less than 10 dupes if we believe this. Okay. So then what we want to do is you go back and resort by um, where was it? By special ROI. So now we have the top, lineups that have geo means of less than whatever. Um, so then what you can do, okay, is you could just take the top 150 that have less than whatever and just fire those, and I think that's definitely something you could do. You are putting quite a bit of faith in this geo mean calculation. But I think I really don't think it's that bad. Okay. At the very least, we're going to get to this. At the very least, let's take the top like 300 of these sorted by ROI, and then we'll take those, and then we'll run those through another um, kind of dupe calculator that I like to use. Let's just get rid of all these. So these are going to be our candidate lineups because these are going to be the ones. Now again, let's remember what we're doing here, right? So we've had good projections, we have good ownership projections. We ran the sims, excuse me, we ran lineups, we ran the sims. We sorted by, best ROI, but then what we also did is we took out lineups which, according to our ownership calculations, had geo means that were going to predict more than 10 dupes. And I'm just making that up, whether 10 dupes is the target number. Okay. Um, so what I want to do with these lineups is run it through the PayDirt portfolio manager tool. And this is an external tool that, again, you guys are familiar with this, that also I think does a really, really good job at predicting dupes. Now, just to show you, like you looked at SaberSim's prediction of dupes, like one, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Oh, that's for the knockout special. How about for this one? I mean, like this is just ridiculous, So, all right. So how do you do that? How do you run these 300 lineups through the the filter of the Pater Duke calculator? Well, let's first save these. We have to save them this way. This is a different format, and we'll call this. Let's keep it worksheet. No, what we're going to call this. We're going to call this one Pater 300. Oops, Pater 300. All right. So, um, let's go to the PayDirt site, and there's a couple of things we need to do. First thing, there are three files that we have to upload. One is what it basically is it's a translator that translates different formats into a readable format for the PayDirt system here. So I think it was DK salaries we called it. Yeah. So this has all of um, I think, yeah, this has all of the data on the fighters. Now we need a projection file, so we have that already pre-loaded from when we ran our projections. I have my own macro that goes by their template. So we're going to put projections in there, but if you didn't want to do that, there is a template that you can utilize where you put your own median ownership, whatever it is. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put in those 300 lineups that we created. Okay. And then we're going to click Manage Portfolio. Even though this is NFL, it doesn't matter. Um, you could put Sharp, change that a little bit. Um, and then what we're going to do is we're going to download this portfolio. And remember, these were the 300 lineups that had good ROIs that we were supposed to have less than 10 dupes. And as you'll see, this is a good kind of verifier of that. You have pretty low dupe counts kind of across the board here, you know? So what we've done is we've just really just kind of, either verified it or whatever, but there are other ways you can rank them even at this level. What I don't like is the difference in geo mean calculation. I guess he's just using a different formula for geo mean here. Um, so there's a couple of things you could do within PayDirt is you could use lineup edge. Now lineup edge, I mean, if you start doing this, I mean, you're really now going to be getting a real badass set of unique lineups. Um, uh, and the good news is that you're starting with 300 good ones to begin with. Okay. Um, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go. Well, do we even need to get that unique? At this point, we're already like predicting very low dupes. I mean, at this point, what you could probably do is just sort even by median and just be kind of done with it, right? I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with six dupes if that's actually what we're going to get here. So what we could do is go ahead and take 150 lineups, and that should be the deal. So let's take these, go here, these in, and then we do this. Hit save, and we're good to go. Okay, now what I'd like to do, well, we hit save, but we didn't upload it, right? So here's the last thing I want to maybe try today. It's the only question of when to try it. So this is good enough, honestly. I mean, this is probably good enough. But I'm presuming that no matter what we do, we're going to get all kinds of Max Holloway exposure, right? Like just like a ton, you know. And also, I imagine we're going to be getting a whole bunch of Poirier also, right? Doesn't look like quite as much Poirier, but that's okay because we're going to fix that. So what you could do, like if you really still believe that now we want to take a look at exposure for a minute just for fun. Like at this point, this is what you're going to end up with. And none of this is bad. I mean, all this looks fine for me. It doesn't really matter. Um, but if you still believe that this main event is going to be too chalky, if you want to take that one other step, here's a technique I want to impress upon you. I'd rather not do it at this point because we've already done such a good job, I think, of getting different that I think that this is going to be overkill for this set of lineups. But this is what I want to do. I want to go back to that worksheet I had. Okay. Where was that? So this is what happens. I create so many spreadsheets. The survivor pool stuff, which we're gonna talk about later. 719 worksheet. So let's see, what was this? So this is just like a whole pile of lineups, right? How many was this? Like a billion lineups? So this is what I want to try. And I used to do this more, but I think this is a perfect. perfect one for it. Let's say you do want to go all in on the main event, but you're afraid it's going to be too chalky. This is what you could do. So Max Holloway is going to project higher than Dustin Poirier across all platforms, and he's only 200 higher. What you could do is if you want to play Poirier, just leave 200 on the table. Okay, because what's going to happen is that all optimizers, sims, and everything else it's not thinking, if they have 8,200 to spend, they're going to spend it um, on Holloway. So if you play those lines with Poirier and leave the 200, you're going to get so different with a fighter who is very chalky on his own. So I think that in this particular slate, it makes sense. There's some slates where you don't want to give up that 200 because there's huge like gaps between like an 8,900 fighter and a 9,100 fighter here, but there's so much equality between these 9Ks to 94, 9,500s today that I think it doesn't matter which one you take. So you could leave that 200 on the table. So all you do is you find the Holloway's DFS ID, and this is what you do. You just change like all of these to all of these because this is Poirier. So what you're gonna want to do is like right here, you're gonna go control F or replace all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace all of the 394 429,018s, and we're going to replace them with this one. So 934 replacements. So now all of these lineups that were rated by ROI, okay, now all the ones that had um Holloway now have Poirier. Okay. Um, so what you can do now is take those lineups. Well, what we didn't do, we actually this sheet had both. So now you'd be getting some Poirier. Now these are all Poirier lineups you're looking at. Some of them were just kind of normal Poirier lineups, and some of them were Holloway that turned into them. And I think that's actually pretty healthy. So now what you have though, now you have 100. Now you have all of these are Poirier lineups. So where are your max lineups going to come from? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the first. We're going to go market weight on both these guys. So we're going to take the first, what, 70? Like these 70 lineups are going to be like the Poirier lineups. Okay. So it's a mixture of lineups that would have been Poirier anyway, with some max lineups that turned into Poirier. So let's copy that. And then what we're going to do is you're going to create a new lineup, I actually started doing this, and this is it's not going to be called Max only. It's going to be called Poirier only, actually. And we're going to save these, and these are going to be the Poirier lineups. Save. Actually, it's going to call Poirier only. Sorry, called DP only. And then what you're going to want to do is for the max lineups, you're going to basically do the same procedure you did before. So what you're going to have is you're going to take, where are they? We're going to go back to our builds, which are somewhere. Where are, okay. And then what you could do is basically do a whole nother build with just max. Okay, so let's go, or you could sort. Like let's say you went okay, so let's find what it's build to. So let's put in we'll lock in say max. Where is he? Somewhere, right? Okay, so we'll lock him in. We'll hit apply. Gonna give me a new set of lineups, I guess. And then what we do is we do the same thing with these lineups. These are all max lineups. And what we'll do is we'll sort all these. Actually, these are not all max lineups. Why am I getting? So let's save all these. Let's download the special here. So these are going to be 150 max lineups. Thusly. And then the same thing. These are all sorted by ROI, right? So we'll take these and we'll do the same thing with the geo mean and whatever. So let's again data filter geo mean. We'll take out the ones. What did we say? 25. Okay. Well, we can't take out 75 and then we can go less than that. So we'll take out 60 of them. The lowest geo means. And then these are the remaining max lineups. Actually, that's 90. Sorry. So let's, you don't need 90. We just need 80. And then what we will do is let's save this first and remember. And then we'll put these alongside of those Dustin only lineups that we saw before, wherever they are, DP only. And we'll add these. So now we end up having our 150 lineups that are now locking in the main event, but doing so in a pretty contrarian way, you know? So I'll show you what that would look like. So I'll show you what that exposure would look like. Just for the hell of it. Where'd that go? Hold on. Backgammon. Where'd my DraftKings thing go? So again, it's important to know what we're doing here. Like we use good projections and we built good lineups, but we're just picking the right ones. So here we're locking in the main event, which you wouldn't think is something you can get away with and try to win the big prize. But we're getting so different everywhere else because we're using these metrics that are minimizing dupes and geo mean filtering and stuff like that. So now when we look at this exposures, you see you'll have uh, Holloway and Poirier, and then you'll have Crute again, and you know we've now locked in the main event, but the rest of it is really on a lineup basis looks pretty good, as far as the ability to get somewhat different. Now, if you want to test this, right, you want to test this against the portfolio manager, you can do that too. So let's take what we've just done. And I think it's also going to underestimate the dupes because those Poirier lineups that leave money on the table, I think are extra fun, you know? So this is going to be the lineups that we actually entered so far into DraftKings. And we could look at those um, DK entries. We'll call them DK entries, but we'll put them entry tests, something like that. And then we'll go back to the portfolio manager and we'll go back and we'll do this again. So let's go back into data load. There's a couple of things different that we have to do. Like this one, we have to change this to names plus IDs. I think we're gonna have to probably redo everything. Let's see, let's clear data. Let's see if I could still do this without having to Oh, you can still do this? No way. Yeah, check that out. So what we're doing is we're testing the lineups that we created, and it's on DraftKings. We're testing it for dupes. Now you see there are a couple of these that like 10 dupes and all this stuff. 10, 10, 11, 11. And the reason why these are there, probably these are the ones that are showing up in the big buy-ins. But this is a really good sign, okay, that this is kind of what we're getting. So um I showed you two different ways to use these tools to try to get somewhat unique here. And you see, you didn't make any big concessions with the main event, which you really wanted to play. Um, hopefully that helped. Hopefully it didn't get too far into the weeds. Maybe you can come up with a good combination of those two ideas and come up with your own process that makes a lot of sense. That is going to do it. Good luck, everybody.